I'm going to put a little bit of the narration from a Nassim Harriman video, and he will be talking about the Knights Templars and the Holy Grail. And then I'm going to make reference to it in what I have discovered from some of the work that I do. Now here is my recording of Nassim speaking of the Holy Grail.
Were described in the tales of the search for the Holy Grail. They couldn't talk about the art directly because of Inquisition. So they called it the Holy Grail. And in the first edition of that story, they call it a crystal stone. Later on, describing it as a cup which had two vortices on each side.
Now I'm going to put on a video I made of myself with the vector equilibrium, and I will show that right now. Okay, here you see I have made a little wire vector equilibrium, which I'm about to drop. I'm holding the camera with the one hand and trying to show you something with the other. Okay, so this defines a sacred space. And we are that very sacred space ourselves. And you have heard the video I played of Nassim Harriman talking about this cup, this Holy Grail, this sacred ark, and how the Knights Templar people were on a quest to find this. Well, I'm on a quest, and I think I've found the Holy Grail. Because of this sacred space that is us. This is what happens under pressure, which this world has been under. We have been squeezed into the Holy Grail. I'll set it down, and you can see, however imperfect it might be right now, a little crooked there. But this is the cup he was talking about. It has a hole down through the middle. That's because it doesn't hold something so much as it allows something in it to pass through. Because you can't contain God. You can only allow God to pass through you. And that's the way to be God, is to allow everything to go in and out. And that's why this Grail, this Holy Grail, demonstrated here by the vector equilibrium, being under pressure, shows us what I consider to be the Holy Grail, ourselves. This is just my thoughts on the matter. You can decide what you wish. Now I've taken the chalice, which one side of it's still the cup, but the other side I've bent all the way over, because once you allow God to flow through you and you know who you are a creator then, a deliberate creator, and you create worlds. And the way worlds are made is this double torus that you've heard talk about on YouTube. Many people talk about it. And this is the first half. I haven't bent it over yet, but I will bend the other one over. Instead of returning, I'm just going to hold this and set the camera and show you the bending of this into the other half of this double torus that creates a big old donut looking thing. Okay, you see how it's being there? And this is my version, though it is a simplistic little idea, and I don't know a lot of great mathematical facts to give to it, except to say that I think there's a pathway with all these wires where something would continue around like with the figure 8. And you see, I have this little donut world. In the center, you can pass through the center. The God fragments or God stuff passes through the center, and this just revolves around. And we have a little whirl, of which there are many, millions and billions of these. And you might say the center of it's a black hole, which we are, which our universe is, which every little atom is, which every little molecule, every little photon of light has a black hole. And there it is, a good example of it. And put it down there. Okay, I've kind of squished it together a little better here. And it just reminds me so much of a donut. Also, it reminds me of a 4-leaf clover. See the 4 leaves? And I just think it's very interesting that the vector equilibrium can look like a chalice, the Holy Grail cup, and it also can look like the torus, the double torus. And I just thought people might find this very interesting. Maybe the mathematics of all this, which I don't understand, work out if a person has an understanding of mathematics. They might see how this is a good thing, that it does this. This Holy Grail is a very powerful symbol, and it is something that man has searched for, calling it the Ark of the Covenant, calling it many other names, the Philosopher's Stone, the crystal, and it is an actual object, I do believe. But here's another thing I think about it. It doesn't have to be a physical object. It can also be something anyone can have. It is explained rather well by Deepak Chopra in his book, The Way of the Wizard, which I will read now. I want to read to you here from a book by Deepak Chopra, and the name of it is The Way of the Wizard. And this part is talking about the Holy Grail. And let me read here where it says, the 7 steps of alchemy. Part 3 of this book deals with the stages of transformation that the wizard takes his disciple through. I call these the 7 steps of alchemy, which begin at birth and lead eventually to total transformation. Alchemy is about turning things to gold, that perfect, incorruptible substance. In human terms, gold is a symbol for pure spirit. If a person gets beyond all limitation, throws off all fear, and realizes the pure spirit inside, then the 7 steps of alchemy have been taken. No journey is more wondrous. In Arthurian times, they would have called it a quest, and the supreme object of such questing was always the Holy Grail, itself the most powerful symbol we have for pure spirit. So to me, alchemy and the Grail are the same thing. In both cases, there is a deep search for the timeless aspect of life that brings what everyone dreams of, pure love, pure joy, pure fulfillment in spirit. It doesn't matter whether you read part 2 or part 3 first. Each part has its own style and approach, but both come from the wizard's world. Merlin lived in both, and his purpose is always the same, to teach each of us how to attain the perfection that flesh should be heir to. Finally, this book outlines a quest that will take you from a life dominated by the ego and all its struggle to a new life dominated by miracles. No 2 people learn at the same pace, but the hunger for miracles is so strong in everyone that I wish I could be with you the day that this wizard's knowledge really begins to dawn, and with it your new life. Nothing less than the full blossoming of your spiritual potential awaits you.